Hi, on today's episode, we have a fashion influencer, a stylist, and the founder of Raana, a leading fashion house in Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, Nasimah Rashid.
So I've always loved fashion even as I was younger. When I was in uni, I had opened up a business. I was selling lingerie. But that dream quickly died down because I was hit with the reality. Like I started asking myself the hard questions.
It's always the ones that don't want a job always getting jobs.
Jobs, yeah. Oh, yeah. When I say modest, it was proper like Muslim wear.
Hi, Nasimah.
Hi, Brenda.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Welcome. I'm good.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. I'm energetic. Yeah, I'm glad it's Wednesday. The week is almost over.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
How are you feeling? How's been the journey so far?
So far, the journey has been okay now. I'm saying the second trimester because I'm on my second trimester.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
not even showing. I could hardly tell.
I'm 5 months. Yeah.
No,
Going on my, so I've just finished my 5th month, so I'm going on my 6th.
it does not
Doesn't
show
show.
at
I
all.
pray it stays like that. But yeah, first trimester has been very tough. Because I've been sick and just out of energy, which I didn't expect. But I'm just glad that's over, and now at least I have energy. So that's why I'm like, at least it's come at a good time.
How are you feeling?
I'm excited, nervous, scared at the same time because it's very,
It's a new
it's a new
journey.
journey. Yes, yes, and I just hope everything will go well. I
It
think.
will. It will. Okay. So today,
Yeah.
what were you expecting for us to do today in terms like
On
in
my
terms of
hair.
a wig?
Yes.
What were you expecting?
I feel like because I have seen that you do the opposite of what people want. I feel like of what I would usually go for, which I would usually go for like a longer wig with a side part. So today I think you do probably mid bob like bob length
Almost. Close to
with waves. So,
definitely a mid part because I've never seen you in a mid part before. Do you
yes.
do mid parts ever?
With my natural hair, yes.
Yes,
Yes.
with wigs.
Yeah. With wigs I haven't. Yeah.
So we'll do a mid part, mid length, of course, shorter, but with a bit of a twist.
Okay, I'm excited to see.
So Nasima, tell us about yourself.
Um, okay, I'm a creative at heart. I love all things fashion, style, and art. And I mostly use this different facets to just draw inspiration to create for my business as a fashion entrepreneur. Aside from work, I am a wife. I am a sister, I am a friend, and a soon to be mom.
Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
How has been the journey so far?
The journey I would say the journey now is much easier. I'm sure, I don't know if you can attest to that, but yeah.
No, but you see, for me, my first trimester was kawaida.
Kawaida,
Nothing major was
major.
happening.
Oh, mine was really tough, which was so unexpected. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, mine was tough. The first trimester was really because I was sick. In fact, the whole time I was like, people say morning sickness. Mine was the whole day,
Morning, evening.
evening, and then I was slowed down completely, like movements. I was just like in bed all the time. I would sleep every time. I could barely eat. So yeah, first trimester was very hard. In fact, I used to hear people saying, "Ati days are flying." For me, I was like, it's not, because I felt like things were going so slow. I really wanted the first trimester to end because I heard that now second trimester would be easy. So that's what I was looking forward to. And true to their word, second
easier.
trimester is easier now. Like I'm good. Yeah, I'm full of energy. Sickness is gone. So now that's where the excitement came. But first trimester I was miserable, if you ask me.
Did you have like comfort food or anything you do to make yourself feel nicer about everything?
Well, I was eating for survival. So I was mostly, the only thing I know I remember I loved was fries, and I still do. Healthy food, I couldn't stomach healthy food. So yeah, I think that's just what made me feel better. Yeah, and movies and stuff like that. Like I'll try and make myself forget what I'm feeling. Yeah, and just luckily because of the nature of my business, I was able to sort of slow down. Yeah, because I was imagining if I was in a 9 to 5 and I had to go
To work
to
every.
work every day, talk to people. So I'm just grateful that this was this is my reality.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's nice. Okay, so tell us about Nasima as a fashionpreneur and how that journey came to be. Is it something you always wanted to do? Did you like grow up wanting to be something else, and then along the way you found love in fashion, or it's something you just knew from the beginning you would do?
So I've always loved fashion even as I was younger. Um, and I remember my love for fashion even was more pronounced when we got DSTV, because that's when I started watching Entertainment, and I would watch when celebrities are on the red carpet. I would rate their looks. I'd be like, I like this one, I don't like this one, and why I like it. And I remember I used to be so fascinated. In fact, we used to fight with my siblings, like, because I was like, for sure, this is time for Kardashians, or time for, the red carpet and everything. So that's when it was really pronounced. But even as before then, I always knew like what I want to wear. I'd be very adamant on if my mom is picking for me something else. Fast forward to also when I was in primary school, I think probably upper primary, I used to draw a lot as well, just draw different designs that I've seen on TV, seen on different pictures, magazines as well, just to sketch. And I actually foresaw myself becoming a fashion designer in somewhere in the runway in France, in Paris, whatever. But that dream quickly died down because I was hit with the reality. Like I started asking myself the hard questions, like what Kenyan fashion designer has actually made it. And I remember at that time, I think it was Kiko Romeo. There were not many, and especially women-owned fashion designers. So I was like, yeah, and there are no fashion schools. So I was like, will I go study abroad? What will happen? So because there was not a lot of, I wasn't getting a lot of answered questions. That dream quickly died down. I was like, you know what? I'll just do business because I've loved those two. I mean, fashion and business. I knew I was always gonna be in business, but just a matter of what is where I hadn't known. So I focused on business. That's what I even did in uni. I studied IBA, and quickly after that, I got a job. I got an internship at an embassy. And for a minute there, I actually forgot about the business aspect of it because money was good. Working life, although I didn't really enjoy it. I mean, just the fact that you're answerable to someone, you have to report at this time, decisions, you can't make decisions on your own. It had to go through a certain chain of command. So yeah, so for a moment, yeah, I enjoyed that. I did the internship, finished, and then got another job immediately after that. And I remember, in fact, after I finished the internship, I got a couple of job offers, and I picked the one that was the least paying.
Why? It's always the ones that don't want a job always getting jobs.
Jobs, yeah. Oh, yeah. But I had to be smart with it. So what I used to do, I used to apply every day. I used to wake up like I'm going to work. Actually, that's the because after my internship, I took about a month break. So now that's the time I was applying. So I would wake up every morning, shower like I'm going to work, sit down and apply for jobs, and it wasn't working. Like the interviews, I wasn't getting any interviews or feedback. So I became creative and I started stalking people on LinkedIn, like where I wanted to work and the people who are working there. So yeah, and then I would ask, I'm like, can I be your mentee? Can we meet for coffee? Some responded, some didn't, until one who was now a potential, who ended up being my boss, agreed, and we met for coffee, and yeah, that's how I was hired. Yeah, so that's why I tell people you have to be creative with just how you
It's
do
not only
things.
application and waiting for
Yes,
answers.
exactly. You just have to find other ways because most of the time people hire even the connection that based off of the connection they've had with that person. So yeah, and now that was my first serious and last job, because that's now where I went, and I worked for about I think 3 years, until I decided enough is enough, which is when so I founded Razana in 2020.
After leaving your job or
No, I was
while?
still, yeah, I was still working there. And what happened actually was my mom had just lost her job at that time. And for a long time, I was so used to seeing my mom working. So it was so weird to see her as, as a stay-at-home mom and not doing anything. So even though she was enjoying it, I was always pushing her. I'm like, oh, mom, what do you want to do next? Let's do a business. So that's how now Razana came to be. I was like, we could sell Modestwear, and we do it together. And since I'm at work, we'll open up a store, and you'll be the one at the store. I'll be handling social media because that's what I was good at, and that's what I also studied. I majored in marketing, so I was like, yeah, and I could do the social media, and you handle the finance bit. And she agreed. Um, Little did I know I'd end up doing it all alone. She had no interest in it. So we started online. My then partner, who's now my husband, helped me through the process just by getting the suppliers, because we were importing from Turkey. Um, and it
The
was
outfit or
the
fabric?
outfits, the outfits. And it was really like modest. When I say modest, it was proper like Muslim wear. I don't know if you could see, if you scroll down our page, Razana page, the pieces
First
are,
collections.
yes, the first collection is totally different from what we have now. Yeah. So it was very much Islamic focused pieces, which is, it made sense because I was doing it with my mom, because my mom is Muslim. So yeah, so we opened online, and during the weekends or when I'm off, I would have my friends model. I'd model myself, I'd take pictures with my phone, and then I'd post it online, and it started picking, like people started buying. So that's how. Oh, although before, let me backtrack. When I was in uni, I had opened up a business. I don't know, not many people know this.
Clothing store?
Uh, it's in the fashion business, but it was lingerie. I was selling lingerie and swimwear. So I was selling to mostly guys in my campus. Some of them even are still our clients till now. So I ended, and then that was more of like a side hustle. I wasn't really too serious,
In
like
campus.
in campus, yeah. So the money I was making, I was just having fun with it. Even though it was doing really well, but that ended up dying because I did a huge shipment of swimwear, and it came by DHL via DHL.
Wow.
And I remember they charged me double what the worth of that stock
Was.
was. And my mom ended up paying for me, and she was like, "This is your last stock. Sell these things off, and you focus on your
In your
school,
studies.
on your studies." So I didn't close that page down, which is now the same page that we use to open Razana. But yeah, so it had like about 2,000 followers. Because I was like, it doesn't make sense to start a new page, and this one is already there. So the name was even different. But yeah, we use the same page. Yeah.
When you started, was it like a joint investment? Like you put in money, she put in money, or she put in money for her child?
She put in money for her child, majority of it.
Was
I think I came in with about with like, I think it was like 50K. Yes. And she had she brought in the majority of the capital. I obviously didn't start with a lot because we were still doing it from home, so I didn't want to buy a lot of stock, and it was a market that I wasn't so sure of, because Modestwear was not really,
a big thing.
yeah, it was not a big thing, and it was also not my style. And when I mean modest wear, what I was saying, the Islamic wear, which is not what I would typically wear. So it was very new for me. So yeah, it was a joint investment, but majority her
Majority shares were
were,
moms.
were moms. But interestingly, she had told me this is a loan. She was like, "You will refund once the business does well." Yes. She just liked instilling that principle so that you're able to, work, and you have something to, answer to. So yeah, that's how it was. Yeah, and so, oh yeah, so after a while, when I realized my mom is not interested in this business, I sat down with myself and I was like, it doesn't feel true to who I am. So I had to re-strategize. So that's when now I started launching pieces that speak to
You'd
who I
actually
am,
wear.
yes, that I would actually wear, which would even speak because now, as I started doing styling videos, like it felt more authentic because this is genuinely something I'd wear. And so that's how now it started. Now, this new form of Razana, which is still what it is right now. Um, yeah, but now I was juggling between the two, between that and my 9 to 5.
So before I
Yeah.
continue, at what point or how old was the business when you made that shift from like super modest to now what you have
I would say probably around 8 months
into the business?
into the business. Yes, about 8 months into the business. Yes,
Okay. And now you're juggling 9 to 5 and a business.
yes. So now changing it actually, so funny thing, when I changed it into the new pieces, I actually lost a lot of customers because remember, majority of the people who are following me were people who would wear the pieces that I had before. So when I changed the product, essentially, it meant having a whole or targeting a whole new audience with the risk of losing the ones that I already had, which is what happened. I lost them because most of the Muslim and yeah, most of the Muslim women wouldn't wear what we had, right? But I still tried to. The good thing is that I think I had no pressure to sort of make it a success immediately because of the comfort of still having my job. I still had that, and I was still having a sustainable income from that, so I wasn't really too stressed about that.
About it
Yes.
breaking even immediately.
Yes, yes. So I made that shift, and then it got to a point where I was working. A lot of people were laid off because of the pandemic and everything. Businesses, remember, were struggling now to pick up after things opened up. So a lot of people were laid off, which meant that people who are left in the organization had to take up more responsibilities, and that involved me. So I had to take up a lot of responsibilities, which meant that I rarely had time for Razana. So Razana greatly started suffering. I would not be posting. I remember I would even go a week without any orders and I'd be fine. Here, I'd get orders here and there. I wouldn't really focus on it, but I was still pushing. I would still buy stock. I would still post, just not as consistently. So it got to a point I started becoming unhappy with where I was working, because obviously, you're overwhelmed. And things are not just going how you expected them to go. And I had to make that hard decision to leave. Yes. So that's when I made that decision, which was in 2022. I decided to quit that job and now fully focus on Razana, which I remember people thought I was crazy. And by people, I mean parents, because my parents have always been advocates for getting a nice job and working your way up, the corporate ladder. So they really were not understanding. Like, first of all, you took a low paying job, now you've gotten to where you are, because now I had moved from associate marketer to executive, to executive marketing and community engagement person. So they were like, you're doing well, like in your corporate life, you're making good money. So why would you quit it on a business that's not even, making as much money?
At that time, you're still living home? At
Yes,
home?
yes, I was still living at home. Oh, no, no, at that time I'd already moved out. The time when I decided to quit.
To quit.
Yes, I had moved out and I was living with my partner then.
So did you, oh, you were living with your partner?
Yes.
Was he like supporting you financially? Because I'm thinking by the time you leave a paying job to deciding on starting up a startup, because
Yeah.
at that time it was still a startup,
Right, yeah.
and focus on it, who was going to take care of you?
Luckily, he's been and has always been supportive. So he was very much okay to just, and he really did believe in what I was doing because he could see that that's what, fueled me. That's what made me happy. It's what I was passionate about. So he was very much in agreement and he was happy to take on all the bills. So he was like, yeah, you focus on this and I will handle the rest. So that was I think that was a plus because even looking back, I think if I was handling things on my own, I don't think I would have made that rash decision like that, especially if you're earning good money
Yeah.
elsewhere, right? So that was really a plus for me. Yeah, so that's when I quit. And then I went to Turkey now to just fully, do my research and see what do I want to do, what do I want to remain in this product line, what other stuff could I bring, things like that. And then after that, I stayed for about 6 months planning just at home. Like I closed everything down. I closed the page down temporarily. I was just planning everything, just saying, do I want a physical space? Am I still continuing online? And that's when we launched now in September 2022. That's when now we launched the shop. Yes, yes. And which is where I usually say that's when Razana was launched because now everything got serious. Now I legalized everything. I registered the business. You're doing everything by the book. Because even before then, I wasn't even keen on bookkeeping. Everything was just there. The money that was coming in wasn't really being, spent well. So yeah, so that's why I even say 2022, end of 2022 is when Razana was really
Actually born.
born. Yes, yeah.
So now you've launched Razana.
Yeah.
What was the time period between the time you quit your job to opening a physical store?
The time period was 6 months.
6 months after leaving your job.
Yes, leaving my job.
So how was it? How was it different from having it online? What are the major changes you had to make apart from like what you said, bookkeeping? What else did opening the business come with?
I think things got more serious in a sense where now even like the kind of content that I put out there had to be different because now like you have that pressure for you have to make money, you have to pay rent. Then I was the only employee. I was actually the one who was selling at the store. So I had to really make everything professional. So I switched from doing kienyeji modeling as I was doing with my friends, to now getting a professional photographer, videographer to do the content. I had to really, keep account, just managing stock better, knowing what's selling, what's not selling. Because before I would even stay with dead stock and not really care. Like I'd even give away what's remaining. But now, the money that was invested essentially had to be
Reinvested.
reinvested. So I would say those were the major changes that I had to do. Yeah.
How long has Razana been in business? From the time you opened the store?
From the time I would say now it would be about almost 3 years. I would say 3 years now because in September is when will be 3 years.
Do you still ship from Turkey or you're now producing locally?
So now we're producing locally. Yeah, we had to make that shift in 2023. Yes.
What's brought about the change?
So one of the things that I realized quickly was the pieces that I was bringing, a lot of them were not catering to, the African woman. So the sizing would be a great issue because the things you're bringing are very much like small. And again, it's because of the pieces that I was choosing. Now, if I wanted the plus size pieces, they were not really, they were not the fashion I wanted. They were not, it wasn't what I would wear and what I'd want my clients to wear. So I'd end up, I realized now I'd end up buying sizes from extra small to large. There was no XL even. And that large was like a size 10, 12.
No.
So that meant there was a huge
Gap.
gap and a number of people who are not being served. And then I ended up having a lot of dead stock with that first shipment, because I brought in a lot of shipment from Turkey, and I had a lot of dead stock that was left. So I realized like I had to produce my own pieces. And then also quality was an issue, because now I'm not seeing the pieces. I'm just talking to the supplier, sending what I want. And then I'd be disappointed when they'd come like, this is not the fabric I wanted. And I was very specific with the kind of fabric I
Fabric.
wanted, the kind of design I wanted. So I knew just having to manage all that and control all that, I had to do it locally. So that's when now I started looking for producers, production plants in Kenya that would do that easily and that are near me. So yeah, that's when we started in 2023, but we eased into it. I didn't fully just, say I've stopped importing products. We did a mix for a while, for a whole year. And then 2024, we fully went, fully produced in Kenya, from Kenya. Yeah.
So, from your perspective, how has been the fashion industry in terms of the consumer, the manufacturers, yourself, and also the importers who import outfits for us? How has it been your experience, or just the market in general?
I would say the experience has been tough. Honestly, even till now, it's really tough. And reason being is because we're not yet there, and we're not even near there. We still have a long way to go, just in terms of technologies that have been invested in the fashion industry. Just comparing that to somewhere like China, they're very much advanced, right? It's quick. So for example, for me, having to create a new collection, it would take about 2 months.
2 months.
That is now from concept, from coming up with a design to sampling, and then to now the final bit, which is the production. It would take 2 months. And that's if you're lucky. So sometimes it would even go up to 3 months. So, and some of the challenges that even the place where I produce at are still facing till today is issues like light, electricity.
Wow.
See, that's not an issue for somewhere, in other places around the world. And if you're competing with, in such a market, you can imagine where we stand, where things like electricity is still a problem for us. So it's been very tough. And I'm still even in that place where I'm trying to figure out like how to make it better and to make it more efficient, because you reach a point where clients are demanding for more products. Actually, for us, that's usually the case. Guys are like, yeah, we've seen this collection, we've bought, we want another one. When are you launching next? And you get that pressure because you wish that you could produce a lot faster. But just the reality is we can't, and we're still not yet there. But we're making some improvement. At least we're just not accepting the case as is. People like Vivo, the way they've made changes, they've made strides. So I would say we're working on it, but we still have a long way to go. Yeah, yeah.
And what are the challenges as Razana? What are the challenges you faced over time in business?
Challenges are a lot, are a lot. For me, honestly, I would say the major challenge, actually two major challenges, aside from all the others. One is cash flow. Because remember, for you to efficiently produce and grow your business, you have to really put in money, which can be a challenge, especially for me. It has been, because now meaning, because I traveled I went to China. Now when we fully decided to go to produce in Kenya, I went to China, just in the biggest fabric market. I was like, I want to get different fabrics that different from what is here. And at a better price, right? So that meant, so when I went there, actually, I was I was shocked, because now the good quality fabrics are not really cheap. Like, obviously, it's cheaper than here, but it's still expensive. So it's kind of like what you'd spend here in Kenya, but just for a little more expensive, but for a better quality product, right? So that meant now investing more in the business, and then changing your price structure, which can be difficult, because now remember, if you were selling your items for say 5,000, and then now you're coming to sell your items at 9,000, You see, that before the market adjusts, it can take time. So that can affect your cash flow before you've acquired this certain target market, before consumers fully shift to your new pricing structure. So yeah, that has and I think that's why it has also, because we wanted to move in last year we wanted to move to a bigger store, but I quickly made that decision to not to, just so we can still manage things. Even during Mandamano, when it happened around it, because it happened around the same time we wanted to move, it slowed down business, and I quickly realized I don't want to shoot myself, on the foot just by making this decision. So let's just manage things first and then see how it goes. So that has been the biggest challenge. And then now manufacturing, which is what I was talking about, just the delays in the production process. Because I do not produce, like, I do not have my own team of fundis. We usually outsource the production process. So yeah, so that has been a challenge, because this person, remember, they're not also just working for your business, they're also working with
For
other
multiple.
for multiple businesses. So you always have to be, heavily involved, keeping them on their toes and things like that. Yeah. So I'd say those two have been the biggest challenges. Yeah.
So, in terms of being a creative
Uh-huh.
and working with different people in terms of production,
Yeah.
how has it been as a creative translating your vision to the tailor and I love it,
Because
and ensuring that they whatever you had in mind, or the dress or the outfit you had in mind comes out as exactly as you wanted.
So what I usually do, the coming up with the designs and everything, I usually sketch. So I'd come up, I'd see it from Pinterest, from I draw inspiration from different things and different things that I see. So and then I'd do a sketch just so that I can really put down what I have in my brain on paper, and then I would send to the head
Production.
tailor, yeah, to the production team. A lot of the times, actually 9 out of 10 times, they don't get it right, which is why. Which is what we do. That's sampling. It's called sampling. So they create what you're trying to communicate to them, until they get it right. And sometimes that process, we do it a couple of times until we're like, okay, this is not working out, so we just scrap it. And we're like, probably we'll revisit it later, or it just needs more work and we don't have time, right? So that's essentially it, just a sampling process. We try and we try until we get it right. Usually we do about 3 samples at most. So you find even with the second sample, the production, the head tailor already kind of has an idea of what you mean. So sampling really helps, which is what I love about producing in Kenya, because you do have control over
Control.
that. Yes, and sometimes even I might have had a vision in mind and it changes midway, because like a mistake can happen and I'd be like, oh, this actually looks cute, so let's do this, and that was not the initial plan. So that's one of the beauty about producing here locally, because you get to just curate and tailor it to how you best want it and feel it.
Have you ever worked on a design and you're like, no, we cannot do this?
Yes, so many times, because how they've executed is not how you had pictured in mind. Yes, and you're just like, there's no way this is going to work, and now we have to scrap it, which is costly again, because you're using fabric,
Yeah.
you're using time, you're using resources, and they usually charge you per sample.
Per sample.
Yes.
And production, they charge per piece.
Yes, production charges per piece as well.
So you buy fabric elsewhere and then take it to the production.
Yes, take it to the production and then they charge you per piece. Now, based off of the complexity of the design and knowing my pieces, they're usually very complex. So even every time they see me, they're like, oh, Razana pieces. Even the fundis are usually, so the team, because they're normally about 10 fundis. they are usually, every time I bring for them a design, they usually look at me like I'm crazy because they're like, how is this going to look on a person? So until we get to sampling and they see me trying it on, and they're like, oh, this is the what you had in mind. Now they see the vision.
Vision.
But others, they see like I'm crazy half of the time. So yeah.
So you also do styling as well.
Yes.
You recently started, or it's something you've been doing for a while?
So it's something I have started as a business, but I had been doing it for a while just to friends, to family, just they're always like, I'd be the go-to person when someone has an event and they want to, find an outfit and they're like, oh, what can I wear? So they'd ask, they'd consult me. I'd help them. If we don't have the piece in Razana, I'd always show them where to shop because I also, if most of the time, if I'm not shopping here in specific stores in Kenya, I always import and shop from specific brands abroad. So now I'm also aware of where to shop, how to shop online. So yeah, that's what I had been doing until it got to a point where my clients were experiencing the same things in Razana. So you'd find I'd launch something because I'm the designer. I understand how this dress is supposed to look like, the different ways you can wear it. And when I see how the clients wear it and the pictures they share, I'm like, this is
This is
not
not the
what I,
vision.
yeah, this is not what I had in mind. Or even especially when we have different two-piece, dresses are easy because it's just a one-off wear. But then when it comes to like pants and different tops, a lot of my clients now would come to the store and they're like, now what would I pair this with? How can I style this? And you're trying to explain to them the vision they're not understanding until you do it for them like physically. I'm like, take this, pair it with this, wear these heels. So then I realized, I was like, okay, this can actually, I can make money off of it. And that's when now I launched it as a business. And I got clients, and it started going well until I got pregnant. Because I was also doing a lot of styling videos because that page actually grew so fast. Because I'm not only just offering styling services, I'm also just producing content that's helping you, get inspiration from that. So that's what I think people really loved, and the page just grew. Yeah, until I got pregnant and I stopped it for a while. But at least I'm now at a point where I'm happy to get back to it and focus on it. Because I've seen it's something that I've made money already off of that. And so I was like, this is it's a good way to also get additional income. And it really ties well to Razana because first thing I'm prioritizing is showing you how to style Razana pieces. Aside from Razana pieces, where else can you shop in Kenya? Because I'm always an advocate for fast, Kenyan brands or African brands. And then if you can't find it here, then where else can you buy it from abroad? That is, yeah.
So is it basically like a consultancy,
Yes.
like or you go to the client personally and revamp the wardrobe, or they just contact you and
So it's different facets. So there's consultation, which is the first bit of it, where now I have to understand who you are, your lifestyle, what you do professionally, or are you a stay-at-home mom? Just so I'm able to really understand how I can come in to help you. Because sometimes I probably, I might not be able to help you. Sometimes I might think I'm helping you, but I'm not. So that's why the first step is very important, which is the consultation. And then after that, the person decides if they want me to now come in and revamp their wardrobe. And that looks like now going to their homes, assessing the entire wardrobe, just looking at based off of the style that you want to achieve from the consultation session. What pieces do you actually need? What pieces don't you need? Are we getting rid of your entire wardrobe and shopping afresh? So such things I'm able to establish once now I visit your home. And then the final step now is where a client can decide now, I don't know where to shop, I don't know how to shop, and I need your help in that. So that's where now I come in and I help them entirely in just the whole shopping process.
so you work with the client to a store and help them shop the pieces they want, or
Yes.
the pieces that would actually work
Work,
for them.
yes, yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
So,
sorry. So, and majority of the times, a lot of clients come in saying they want to shop from, the likes of Zara, Fashion Nova, and how I'm glad that I'm able to do this is that I actually show them before you look outside. Let's check what we have here, right? We go to, if it's not Razana, we can go to Siri Studio, we can go to, Zia, wherever it is. You see what else you can get here, and they're usually so shocked because there's still that perception for, international brands are better than Kenyan brands. The quality is better. And so that's why I'm glad that I'm able to do this because I'm able to change that
that perception.
narrative. Yes, yes. Yeah.
So, what fashion advice would you give to anyone? Like your most, like the best fashion advice you can give to anyone?
The best fashion advice I'd give to anyone is get basics first. If you understand basics, I feel like you can now work your way up. Because a lot of people, which is what I've even experienced, like in our store, people come and get dresses and get, because
When you say basic, what do you mean exactly?
so basics can look like just wide leg pants, in neutral colors, just a basic wide leg pants in neutral color that's like nude, black, and then tank tops, bodysuits, blazers. Something that you can easily repurpose time and time again, and you get more wear out of it. That's value for money. So when you start with that, I feel like that helps you work your way up now to get into getting statement pieces. So a lot of the times you find people just shop without knowing, oh, what can I pair this with? Where can I wear this at? And things like that, which are mostly statement pieces, something, especially something printed. Now, for example, this top that I've worn, it wouldn't go with everything, right? Because of the print and the color. But if it was just plain black, I can wear it so many times in
And different
different
ways.
ways. So that's why I insist, as a first step, is just getting basics. Yes, and then working your way up. Yeah.
And then, do you have other fashion influencers or fashion people you look up to in terms of your style or even in business?
Yes, yes, I do. I think one of the people that comes to mind is, I don't know if you know her, she's called Jenny Naylor. Naila. Yeah, so she's one of the people I really admire her style. She's a huge advocate for, basic pieces as well. There are many. Also, Alia's Face, she's a YouTuber as well. I really like her style. Yeah, I think those are top of mind were people I really admire. And then when it comes to business, I would say Andrea Ayama.
I know her the
Yes,
least.
yes. I love her pieces. I also love her style. It's very, vacationy, very free, very flowy. So she's someone I also really look up to when it comes to, how she runs her business, the pieces she produces and things like that. Yeah.
Um, Now that you've mentioned Andrea,
Yeah.
when it comes to pricing points, because I know Andrea's pieces could go up to 100,000.
Right, yeah.
Do you think we have a ready luxury market in the country?
No. So, okay, but there are clothing stores that do sell their pieces around, that pricing point from 40,000 and above. But then if you look at the market share, it is quite small, right? Because a lot of the people, I mean, just based off of our economic status or, economic standpoint in Kenya, a lot of people are not able to afford, that kind of pieces. and especially a lot. Like if anything, you'd buy one, and probably that's because it's a special event. And remember, if you're working, because in business, at the end of the day, you're working with numbers and sales. So you want to occupy as large as of a market share as possible, and occupy and get as many clients as possible. So with that price point, you do find that there are people who can afford that. But in comparison to someone like, say, for example, Vivo, whose prices are like 6,000, 8,000 at the, I don't even think they have anything around 8,000. They have the biggest market share, right? And so you will find that a brand like that is doing much better than someone who would come in and sell that, which is why we don't even have like designer stores in Kenya. And we have it in they have it in South Africa, you see? But maybe just with time it will get better, I think, because people are also appreciating, luxury fashion, designer efforts and everything. Because I think once people get to understand the process, the process behind you producing an item or creating these designs, they tend to buy that, right? So I think there's still, there's a gap, there's a huge gap, but it's getting better. It's going to get better, probably.
Still in the luxury line,
Yeah.
we've seen designers in Nigeria. I think Nigeria is really
Yes,
growing and
yes.
popular at the moment. Do you think we are able to get there in terms of, and I know you've mentioned economy
Yeah.
wise, but in the same country, I believe we have people who are up there and they
Yes.
can actually buy. So my question is this: do you think, as a person, as a normal person,
Yes.
it's uh, it's it's worth to buy a dress that costs maybe, let's say, 1 million?
As a
Like,
person,
would
yes.
you buy
Yes.
$1 million dress? Not dollar, but 1 million shilling dress.
Yes. I wouldn't.
You would.
I wouldn't. And probably this is just because I'm always thinking. So anytime I'm shopping online, and something is expensive, I always hold back. And one of the questions I'd ask myself, can I make it here? Can I make something similar? Or what else can I wear? And things like that. Like you ask yourself so many questions. And this could be just, related to where I'm at financially. Because probably someone who can afford that kind of, dress, they wouldn't ask themselves such questions. Probably if money wasn't a
No
problem,
problem.
probably, I don't know, but at the moment I wouldn't. Um, and to your point where you're saying Nigeria is doing so well, I do agree. And I think what is happening is there's a hype around Nigerian designers. I mean, they're doing so well globally, especially in the US, in the UK, with this whole movement of promoting, Black women-owned businesses. There's, they're very well up there, and it's because even a lot of the designers that have made it currently are from Nigeria. A lot of them, like the Andrea Ayama, Fisayo for Kai Collective, they're from Nigeria, right? So I think we can get there, just also to get that global recognition. We just need that one person to get, and that's something I really try to do, to just, because even so I realized when I started, I don't know if you saw, we started doing mesh pieces.
Yes.
Yes, and when we launched that is when we started getting a lot of international recognition. So we'd get, someone from the US, from Australia shopping. And one of the things that really fascinated me is once they got the product, the pieces, the first feedback they give us is, your items are very cheap. They'd be so shocked because this is a person who's comparing it to, say, the likes of, Kai Collective and whatnot, because this is the same customer that would buy from there, right? And most of them are usually Kenyans, by the way, who are
Kenyans
in the
living abroad.
diaspora. Yes, yes. So they'd be so shocked, and they're like, you'd compete so well globally. Your items are very cheap. But then I'm like, wow, it's a compliment, and I do wish I could sell like I could price it like Kai Collective. But the reality of the fact is I can't, at the moment. So that's just, it's been interesting to see just, the kind of tastes that they conform to, internationally, because it did take a while actually for clients in Kenya to warm up to the mesh pieces, because someone was like, mesh for 8,000. In fact, we used to have even people saying, "Aye, we can get it in town for 2K or something." So it's not until someone does come to the store and feels the product, and they actually see it's different, and then they would understand, okay, this is why they've priced it the way they have, and just the uniqueness of it. Because one of the things, we pride ourselves in is just the fact that you would not get someone else with this print, and that is something that I was very intentional about, just getting something different and something that not, someone can easily copy. Because remember, if you buy fabric here, everyone else is buying fabric here. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things, I was trying to break when I was doing that. But yeah.
So how do you deal with people who copy your designs, or you've never experienced that?
Um, I don't think I've experienced that. And if I have, probably I don't pay attention, because I say in fashion, no one really owns a particular design. We all,
Get inspiration.
we all get inspiration from one another, from different places, different things. So it's just how you do it. So I've never gotten someone copied to the T. Like, this is the same print, same things. And again, it's because I try and keep it as
Unique.
different and as unique as possible. But if I have, I would say I have had like some facets of it, like someone's launching kind of a similar design, but I can't hold it against them, because they were inspired by my design probably. And also it's not my design, because I was also inspired from somewhere else, right? I'm yet to come up with a design from scratch that is so different, and then for someone to to copy that, which I can fully say, this is my design, it came from my brain. But all these other things, like pants exist
The
in,
universal.
yeah, it's universal. So you can't say, because I remember there was that scandal for pants and everything. I mean, pants are pants, so yeah, I don't look at, and I don't even focus on that. For me, for what I just do, I launch, we sell. If someone tries to emulate or draw inspiration from that, I have moved on. I'm on my next product. Yes, yes.
So what's the process of you, like, even choosing a fabric? Do you look at a fabric and see what you will use it on, or you
Yeah.
already have the design, now you pick the fabric?
Yeah, so what I usually do, before I buy the fabric, I usually have the designs. I know how it's going to look like. I know the colors I'm going for. So what I usually do, I'd give myself like leeway for, I'd pick about 3 to 4 colors, probably three, just to make my decision making easier. I'd say, so this is the dress that we're doing. I'd draw it, and I'd actually create a whole mood board. And then as I'm going fabric shopping, I'll carry that mood board just to remind myself, this is the dress we're doing, and these are the colors that we want for this dress, and the kind of fabric, like down if it's a linen dress, if it's a satin dress, whatever the case, I've written it down. Because if you and the reason why I put it in different colors is because if you can go there, like for example, if I'm going to Isli, which is if I'm not importing the fabric, I'd go to Isli. You can go there, and you can't say I'm going to get an orange satin fabric, because you can get there and it's different. Like, you won't get that. So you have to just give yourself like leeway and options to just be fluid, be open, but just still having the vision in mind. So that's really sort of the process that we follow. Yeah.
What would you attribute the growth of your business to? Like, where was there like a sudden shift of business, or what would you attribute, like, my business is successful because I did A, B, C, D?
Um, so I would say now, at the moment where we are, where I'd attribute the growth and just the success it's been so far. I mean, we still have a long way to go, but so far, I would say is putting myself out there, or trying to put myself out there. So interestingly, I've always used models and been kind of in the back burner and not, shown face of the brand, because a lot of people would not even know that I own the brand. And the moment I started, just doing styling videos is when I started seeing like the growth and the change in sales and everything. Because I guess because I'm the designer and I understand the product the best. So just in showing people how to style these pieces, how to wear it and everything is when I started seeing the real growth, because people would come to the store and they're like, yeah, I saw her. In fact, and funny thing, they don't even know if I'm the owner. So they think I'm an influencer, fashion influencer for the brand or just the model for the brand. So they're like, yeah, we saw some lady called Nasimah. She styled it like this. I want it like this exactly. And and why I say I know that is a fact that what has contributed to the growth is because having to slow down when it came to pregnancy meant that I wasn't shooting as much and things like that, and I could feel the effect, because people are now not, they're no longer having a point to relate to,
Or a reference
or
point.
yes, or a reference point. So that's what I saw heavily, that heavily impacted my business. And so, just realizing that is even driving me more to just be more involved, to put myself out there, which is something I'm still struggling with, because I kind of like being in the back burner, but I'm realizing quickly that people are now buying, the face behind the brand. So, we have to put ourselves out there, which is what I'm trying to do now.
Are we going
Yes.
to see a maternity collection?
Probably. Actually, the next collection that's launching, that's launching actually at beginning of June, was heavily influenced by my own experience, because a lot of the pieces that I have do not fit me, because everything was made to
To
my
fit.
to fit exactly how my body measurements were. So yeah, so now I needed more free things, which is what we've incorporated, because we've always had bodycon type of looks. So it's gonna have some free flowing dresses. Yes, and some bodycon, of course. We have to still stay true to who we are. So yeah, I would say, and I think it's gonna change even, as I walk along this journey, just even when it comes to ease of breastfeeding and things like that. So yes, so we'll see more of that.
Nice.
Yeah,
When you're doing your shoot,
yeah.
is there criteria to picking your models and the pieces they'll wear? And how important is it for you to do your shoots professionally?
Yes, there's usually a criteria in picking the models, which is usually
Sorry, let me get it. Better?
yeah. So yeah, there's usually a criteria when it comes to picking the models. I usually look at just having all sizes, all skin tones, and all body types, just so I'm able to cater to the different customer segments that we have. Whether it's a plus size, whether it's a petite, whether it's dark skin, light skin. So just so, because a lot of the time there's confusion when it comes to shopping from clients. They're like, oh, would this piece look good on my skin? So for me it's very important to show that, because I have something to show for it. I'm like, yeah, she's dark skinned, she looks good in it. And I see that people even appreciate that, just seeing someone who
Diversity.
looks like them dress and style the pieces that we have. So that's very important. And I think even when once we changed, how our content looks like, people take you more seriously, compared to how, because I used to do it in my balcony or or in my room. So I feel like there's a certain level of seriousness that people take you with once you choose to do your things more professionally. Yeah.
What would you tell 10-year-old Nasima?
I think I would tell her to, not be afraid and go for your dreams, because as I had mentioned, I knew that I wanted to be a fashion designer from a young age, at a young age, but I just kept having, that voice that is, discouraging me, that inner voice discouraging me. that fear, driving me away from that dream. So I think I would tell her to just go for her dreams, follow her dreams. Um, if face your fears. If you fail, you will learn, because I think that's one of the things that I also used to be so scared of, just failing. Yeah, so that's what I would tell her.
And where do you see Razana in the next 5 years or 10?
For me, my main focus is to get our Rosanna globally recognized. I think we're just, tapping into that market, into the global market. So I do foresee us in 5, 10 years just being internationally recognized, a brand that is well known for, making women feel confident in how they look, and just breaking the barriers in when it comes to the fashion industry, and changing the perception that because I'm this size, this is what I should wear. Because that's one of the things that we try to, just change. So I do foresee a lot of women feeling confident and changing what they wear now, thanks to Razana. Yeah.
What advice would you give someone young who wants to join the fashion industry?
Okay.
What would you advise them?
So the first thing, which I think is so cliche, is just to start, right? I think a lot of the times people take time just, wallowing in their dreams, in their goals, and thinking a lot, overthinking, which is what, a lot, especially as women, we're known for. So I think just start, because you can try as much as possible and gain as much knowledge as you want, but the real learning is in starting, because I think that's when you now fully experience, the business world and how the fashion world works. So I would say just start, and then never stop learning. So as you start, don't just start and, say this is it. Continuously, always aim to continuously learn, interact with other fashion businesses. I think for me, I would really also attribute my growth to that, just interacting with other fashion business owners, just learning their process. And luckily, some are willing to share, some aren't, which is okay. So just focus on those who are willing to share, because remember, experience is the best teacher. So them having walked this journey for X number of years, they do have a thing or two to share. So also just don't stop learning, continue researching and things like that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nasimah. What do you think about the hair?
I love it. And I love that it's very voluminous, because my hair is a lot, which is what I was hoping for. I really love it. And I love, I love mid parts, so I think it looks nice. It's a different length, but I really love it. I
You
love
like
the
it?
volume especially, and also it feels light.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming to my seat.
Thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed it. It's been very insightful as well.
Hi Nasimah.
Hi.
Are you ready for quick fire questions?
Yes.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Favorite social media platform?
TikTok.
Business casual or formal?
Business casual.
Timeless pieces or follow fashion trends?
Timeless pieces.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Break my soul.
What's your hidden talent?
Hidden talent that I can sing, arguably.
Window or aisle seat?
Window.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Being invisible.
What's the last thing you Googled?
Um, Probably something pregnancy related.
Highest mountain in the world?
Mount Everest.
Last emoji you used?
Laughing face.
What's your most expensive outfit? What's the cost of your most expensive outfit?
22,000.
Current obsession, fashion piece.
Current obsession.
Yes, a fashion piece.
Mesh bodycons.
Fill in the blanks. The only thing I can't live without is...
My eyebrows.
Your biggest pet peeve.
I don't know if I can explain it nicely. Leaving the tissue roll on the wrong side. The wrong side is under. So yes, that's that's a pet peeve.
Last song you listened to?
Bad energy. Energy by Wizkid.
One word to describe your day today.
It's been calm and fun. Yeah.
Cheapest item in your closet?
Like price or
Yes, in terms of price, yes.
uh, 1500, a bodysuit, I think.
Fashion piece every woman should have.
um, a basic tank top or bodysuits.
What's your life motto? What's your motto in life?
Just living fully and being present in the moment.
Yay! So that is the end of our quick fire questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.